So I was working today, just doing my job, you know, moving some stuff, moving around some photocopiers. That's what I do. And sometimes customers like to help me. And sometimes I'd prefer that they didn't. But, sometimes it's nice to have help. And this sweet old lady, I was trying to move this out of these doors that weren't opening automatically. And she was like, "Oh, I'll get the door for you." I'm like, "Oh, thanks so much." And I I'm laughing because I know what happens. I'm sorry. Can we take the story again? No? No redos on the pod? Okay. Anyways, she's like, "I'll get the door for you," just being sweet. And she got the door for me, and I'm like pushing this photocopier through this door, and it won't go. And I have to give it a little bit of a push. And I let out this ass ripping, gut wrenching, world ending fart, like very fucking loud because I'm grunting, like, trying to move this thing, and it was just this huge fart. And like, I don't know if she's being polite or if she didn't, or if she didn't hear it, she might not have heard it. Or she might have been polite and just ignoring that she heard it. I don't know how she didn't hear it unless she's fucking deaf. But this ass ripping, world ending fart comes out. And I'm like, oh, I'm kind of embarrassed. I'm like, let's just get this fucking thing out of here. So I push it through, and then like it just smells like absolute shit. like, like the worst smell ever, and I'm like literally gagging on my own fart. And this poor old lady is right in the toxic zone. And I could tell. I just looked in her eyes. I'm like, if she didn't hear it, she's fucking smelling it. Because Jesus Christ, I think her eyes were watering. I know mine were. But yeah, so that's how I crop dusted a poor old lady. And like, I'm sorry. Like, I appreciate the help sometimes, guys, but sometimes the moral of the story is don't help people move and shit because you might just get a world ending fart in your face. Welcome everybody back to Not Rich Just Bored, episode number 64. Like Nintendo 64. 64 bits. But it wasn't the first 64-bit console, was it, kids? No. Because I think the Atari Jaguar was. It's probably right. If it's not, I don't care. But yeah, we got a shorter one for you today. I have had such a shit week. My tub drain is frozen. It's still frozen. I don't get it. My the tub, like, I live in a trailer. You guys notice I'm very vocal about this. I live in a shitty trailer because I was born in the 90s. Some might say I was born too early, or too late. I always say for the 90s kids, it's cool. Don't get me wrong. Growing up in the 90s was cool, but you were born too late to buy a house. Sorry, an affordable house. And millennials and Gen X well, I'm a millennial, I guess, but 2000s, 2010 babies, good fucking luck. My children, good luck ever buying a house. Sorry, kids, unless this really takes off, that's why you guys need to watch. You need to listen to this fucking podcast. Because I need to feed my children and buy them houses. All right? So I need your support. Start watching! What? You'll start watching when I'm entertaining? Okay. Yeah, that's fair enough. Anyways, no person ever starts a podcast thinking they're going to make money because you don't. You just kind of do it because it's fun. And eventually people will catch on and be like, hey, this guy's funny, like, 1% at a time. He's not bad. Anyways, go back to my joke there. Well, it's not a joke, it's reality. But we were born too late. 90s kids were born too late for fucking housing. And we're born too early to get in on the fucking Twitch thing and esports and all that. fucking sucks. Esports, we'll get back to that in a minute, but it is brutal though. Dude, if I always think about it. If Twitch had been around when I was in high school, fuck me. I wouldn't even I mean, I didn't really pay attention to my studies as it was. You know, it was hard to keep me engaged. I really enjoyed like physics weirdly and like chemistry, and I liked biology. Sex ed was pretty good. Although I didn't get to test out those. Never mind, we won't get there. It doesn't matter. But yeah, I liked a few history. I liked a few classes, but if I had Twitch, fuck those classes. I would have been streaming every night, you know. And that's kind of the benefit that kids have these days, you know. You can start streaming shit at 15, 16. Like as long as your parents are cool with it, obviously. And, you know, but like if I had a kid, well, sorry, I do have kids, but they're not that old. But if my kids were 16 or whatever older, you know, I'd say 16 because like when you like if you're younger than 16, it's kind of fucking weird. I mean, it's weird if you're younger than 18, really. You know what I mean? But like either way, 16, you know, you can game fine, and it's not weird that it's not that weird that people watch you. You know, if you're a girl, okay, maybe it's a little weird, but I think it's always whatever. I'm not gonna go down that rabbit hole, but yeah, if my kids want to stream when they're 16 and they want to, you know, try to make it, fuck it, do it. I don't care. It's a good career path, honestly. If you make it happen and you're smart with your, if you do make it and you're smart with your money, why not? Now that's not to say everybody's gonna make it, because that's just not true. Not everybody's gonna make it, but what I'm saying for '90s kids is that they didn't get that shit. Like I tried to do YouTube back in the day, but I was already living on my own, so I didn't have fucking a bunch of money to dump into it, you know. And I was making a shit wage. I'm still making kind of a shit wage, but it's hell of a lot better than what it was. But the only reason my wage is shit is because inflation's out of control. But sorry, I keep going at tangents. I like keep on opening. I open Pandora's box, and then there's like additional boxes opening on each side every time I say something. I'm like, yeah, listen, this. It's kind of crazy, but it is true though. Like, you know, I'm making a fairly decent wage right now, but thanks to the fucking Canadian inflation, it's really not that great. But my point is, when I was like 20 years old, working at fucking Future Shop, that's Best Buy. That's the past tense of. It's ironic that Future Shop is the past tense of Best Buy, because Future Shop used to be the Canadian division of Best Buy, and then Best Buy was just like, wait, why do we have a different fucking name for our store? Just because it's in Canada. Why don't we just all call them Best Buy? So that, yeah, they're all Best Buy. But yeah, I was working there, you know. So it was dope to work like midnight releases and shit. And I would do like YouTube content at the midnight releases, and like I would film my buddies waiting in line. It was so crazy because I literally filmed everything on like this little. I remember it was a Canon. It was a red Canon camera. It was literally a digital camera, but it could take video. And so I made videos of it. Funny story. I might release them someday. We'll see. They're all privated. They were on my other channel, but they were all privated, and I kept them on there because I was like, one day I might want to look back at these, but I don't want them to be out in the public right now because they're fucking cringe. But my original YouTube videos was me doing, uh, it was me doing vlogs, and like I remember my very first video on YouTube was called rollerblading or roller hating. And I haven't watched it in a long time. I should really log in and watch it, but I'll bet you I'll cringe out. But and then after that, I did like, yeah, I did other vlogs. I did like an unboxing video of the Mortal Kombat Collector's Edition, which I filmed at my buddy's house. That was kind of cool. I did what was the other one I did? I interviewed a local band from my area, not really from my area, from a little ways away, but still, they're a local band, and like I was a huge metalhead in high school, and I mean I still enjoy my metal today, but I listen to a lot of different shit now. But back then it was pretty much just strictly metal, and I really enjoyed interviewing people. I still kind of enjoy that. I wouldn't. That's why I do the like when I have guests on a podcast. It's no different. I kind of like to, almost interview them, to ask them about what they're doing, or what's up. But I like it to be more of a less of an interview and more of a conversation is nice. But I don't think that's ever left me. I've always enjoyed kind of talking to people and seeing what they're about. So I had an interview with a local band, the leader of the band, and that was actually a really good video. I actually really was proud of that. My girlfriend at the time did all the editing, but well, actually, she did the recording and the editing. I just kind of did the interview. So we were a power team, man. But either way, sorry, that was a very long tangent. I just went on. Ooh, trip down memory lane. Like I said, maybe one day I will. I've always thought about revisiting those videos or doing a reaction to them because it was such a different time. It was crazy. But my point of that whole story was that when I was working at Best Buy, I didn't have enough money to, afford the premium setup and all that stuff to do a proper, proper streaming and all that stuff. It's hard to do it when you're on your own because people always say that streaming and YouTube and stuff like that, it's easy and it doesn't take any effort. It's like that. Nothing could be further from the truth. Nothing could be further from the truth. Like, yes, streaming's easy. You click a button, you're live. There you go. But being entertaining isn't necessarily easy. And also, you gotta have the energy for it to be entertaining. You don't want to be a fucking slug on camera. Like, yeah, technically it's easy to just record yourself. And that's one of the problems I have when I'm streaming because sometimes I find it hard to play games and talk at the same time because, especially if it's a hard game, because I'm so engaged with the game. So it's really hard to be entertaining and be drawn into your game. Like it's not as easy as everybody thinks anyway. But um, it's just I would work at Best Buy all day and then sometimes overtime. And anybody who's worked in retail, you know what it's like during the winter. It's out of control in the winter. So you're putting in mass overtime during that time because it's the busiest time of the year for retail, Christmas time. So when you're doing all that, you just don't have the energy to go home and, sit behind a computer and edit a video for sometimes 10 hours, Some of those DayZ videos, like I used to do DayZ highlight videos on my old channel. I would say they were probably one of my most viewed videos for sure. People did enjoy them. But that's because I put a lot of effort into them and I took a lot of it was a lot of time. Some of those videos, like the bus video, I did a why the bus in DayZ is shit. That video, I think I spent 6 hours or so editing that. There's a couple of compilation ones that I spent 10 hours. Like I think I started at like 9 in the morning on a Saturday, and I started rendering it out around 11 at night. So and then rendering takes quite a while because my computer was really fucking slow back then too, so it took even longer. But it all takes time. So I never like it when people say that it's easy money or it's easy time. But when I say when I talk about the whole the availability of streaming, I I'm just simply talking about time. That's what the kids of today have as an advantage. They have time. And also energy helps too, but it's just like when you're living with your parents, you don't gotta pay rent. You don't, you just go to school, whatever. You have a lot of extra time to do streaming. And especially if you're young and if you're, say you're 18, you're done school, and your parents are cool with you, kicking around for a couple of years, then you can really take a good shot at streaming. But when you're an adult and you're kind of on your own, you gotta pay your bills, bro. You gotta pay. That's how it works. So that's why YouTube never really worked out for me. I didn't have. I had the ambition of it, but I didn't have the time. I just didn't have the time and the energy. It just took too much out of me because I was working all day, And also, it's also terrible when people are worried about money. When you're making a shit wage and, you worry, you're just stressed out about how you're going to pay your bills because you don't have enough money, and that makes it even worse. And that hasn't really gone away. I'm in an okay spot right now, but again, thanks to inflation, it's not easy to pay your bills these days. You got to really cut back your spending and cut back on everything. And, thankfully I've become a bit of a minimalist, but my God, the price of everything has gone through the roof and it's really rough. So, all those people are starting out right now and they're just getting into the workforce or what have you, in your early 20s. Like I really do feel bad for them. Like it's not going to be easy. It's rough. So I don't know. Either way, that's me. That was me going on a 15-minute rant about being born in the 90s and all my disadvantages. But it's cool though. That's the thing, guys. You gotta you can't think about shit like that though. Otherwise, it'll drive you nuts. You just gotta deal. You get one hand in life, as far as we know. As far as we know, you get one shot at this thing, and you gotta make the best of what you're doing. And what I've found, when I was stressing out about my work and my YouTube and all that, it was poor quality and poor. It's just because it was because I was stressing myself out. I was almost treating it like a job. Whereas now I don't treat this like a job for my YouTube channel. And, this podcast is on my channel. It's also on Spotify and a bunch of other places. But, I don't treat this shit like my job. I just do it. I like to do it. And I think it's good. It's built. I've talked about this 100 times, but it's building up a skill for me. And, maybe it'll go somewhere. Maybe people will start listening. Maybe the rest of the channel will pick up because of the extra content. I don't know. If it does, it does. If not, whatever. I'm not stressed about it. I don't. And if I need to take a week off, I'll take a fucking week off. It's not that serious. I just like to shoot the breeze, and it's a worthwhile use of my time because at the at the lowest end, if nothing happens with it, it'll be a neat online diary, and I'll have some cool little video memories to look back on my channel of videos I made and challenges we did and whatever else I want to get into with this channel. But I'm doing it on my terms now. Before I was trying so hard to hop on trends and to hop on, what's popular and what's popping off at the time, which when I was doing YouTube was all horror games. So I was trying to figure out, what's Markiplier doing, what's Jacksepticeye, PewDiePie, all those guys. What are they doing? What's the new hot game? Oh, Amnesia. Okay, we're gonna be doing that. What's the new one? Jeff the Killer, Five Nights at Freddy's. Okay, short detour here. Five Nights at Freddy's. I am so glad somebody said this. Fucking, I think it was Critical there, like Moist Critical, like Charlie. I think it was him that said it on his podcast, but he was he said that they were talking about Five Nights at Freddy's randomly, and then he's like, yeah, I've played them all. They're real stinkers, and I'm like, finally somebody said it, because I fucking hate that game. There's a reason that game popped off. I don't know why Five Nights at Freddy's popped off. It has kind of cool lore, and the idea behind it is cool, but the gameplay fucking sucks. I hate that gameplay. The idea of essentially you're just conserving power, you're stuck in one room, and you gotta blink the lights to see if there's somebody there, and then close the door if somebody's there, and if they're not, if you don't get to them in time and close the door, then you die. It's one cheap jump scare. It's like, I don't know. To me, it just it was such a fucking boring, stupid ass game, and I was glad to hear somebody say it because there's so many people that talked its praises up, like Markiplier and all those guys, Jacksepticeye, all those guys at the time. They were all like, "Oh, I'm so excited for the new Five Nights at Freddy's," and I'm like, fuck that. Like that's got to be one of the most depressing games I've ever seen. It's just fucking boring. Like it has some cool lore, and but again, other than that, it's just a fucking quick time event. That's all it is. It's essentially a quick time event, and I can't stand that game. So it was kind of cool to see other people like not like that game that are more famous, because I'm glad I'm not the only one that thought that was a fucking piece of shit. But um, that's why back in the day I only did, even though it was the hot game at the time, I only did one episode of Five Nights at Freddy's because that's all I could stand. I was like, God damn, this game is boring. But yeah, so back to what I was saying originally. I went off on my whole '90s thing, and I was doing like a whole retrospective of my YouTube career. It's kind of neat. But the biggest thing, the biggest reason I wanted to bring this up and like talk about that whole, streamer thing and esports thing is that when I went to school as well, sorry, I should have got some water. I was singing really loudly in my vehicle today at work because I had to. I was just, I don't know. I was just singing to be a weirdo because that's what I do. I love singing. I'm not good at it, but I do like it from time to time. All right, it's kind of fun. But I think I blew my voice out. Do you guys ever have those songs where you just like gotta blow? And like for me, it was like, what was it? The Unforgiven today by Metallica. It's like, you labeled me, I'll label you. And I'm like, oh. You have those songs that you just gotta sing along with, and it's not voluntary, guys. It isn't. You have to. It's like Enter the Sandman, shit like that. It's like you have to sing along with it. That's crazy. But yeah, I blew my voice out. But I was esports and Twitch and stuff like that. That wasn't really a thing when I was growing up. Well, it was a thing when I was growing up, and even in like high school, we had, I think the last console that came out was the Xbox 360. So the Xbox 360 was out, and that's about it. We were just getting serious online gaming by the time I was done and into the Xbox 360 Slim, and that was online gaming is just picking up, but there was no real streaming wasn't really a thing at that time. I think Justin TV was still a thing. Like he was doing his IRL vlogging, but um, anyways, why am I talking about this? I'm talking about it because I went to a school today for my job to install a photocopier, and I had to activate a port for the photocopier to be active because they're hardwired machines. So, but the port wasn't active that I need to use. So she's like, "Oh, well, I don't know how to activate a port." I'm like, "Oh, I know. You just gotta run a Ethernet cable from your rack to your switch or whatever." I'm like, "They have it labeled here." I'm like, "I could find it. I could do it for you." So she brought me to the server room, and on the way to the server room, there's like this computer lab, which is that's not uncommon. We had computer labs growing up, but this looked a little different. It looked a little bit more serious, and there were some 3D printers, which was really cool too. That's technology I didn't have either, but they had these computers lined up, these two big rows. There's probably, I don't know, probably 12 computers or so, and I'm like, wow. I'm like, this is cool. You got 3D printers, and these are pretty nice computers. And the teacher was like, yeah, this is actually where our kids do esports. I'm like, sorry, did you just say esports? And she's like, yeah, yeah, like they play games online and stuff, and as a team. And I'm like, wow. I'm like, so this school had a dedicated room where kids could play esports together. Like they could do there was a couple kids playing Rocket League in the back. That's about it. Nobody else was really using it at the time. But there's a couple kids playing Rocket League. And they were obviously they weren't doing they're not an official esports team or, anything like that. But what they're doing is, rather than kids going on a soccer team or a football team or something like that, a hockey team, it was like this school was allowing children to make teams for games, so they could go in there and play, whatever, Call of Duty. I don't know if they did Call of Duty there because it was school, so I didn't see Call of Duty, but she said like they play a lot of Fortnite, and I saw kids playing Rocket League. So maybe the mature games are like Fortnite is cartoon violence, right? So it's fine, but I don't know if they have Call of Duty. But either way, my point is, I'm like, oh my god, I wish I went to school these days instead of when I was in school. Because fuck, I'm like, that's so cool. And I had to tell my buddy about it, my buddy Swordkeer there, that Justin, because I'm in a group chat with them. I'm like, dude, the school has a fucking esports area, and that's so cool because, you know, when we were growing up, video games were always kind of frowned. They were frowned upon. Let's be honest. Like, the Nintendo was for nerds, and it was kind of a derogatory thing, really. It was, and you know, it was kind of terrible because that was my niche. That was my thing. I loved gaming. I loved doing it. It was so fun. And I just loved playing my Nintendo, my Super Nintendo. I loved all that shit. But it was never mainstream. It was kind of seen as a fucking nerd thing and a loser thing. It definitely didn't get you girls. I can confirm that. I'm so lonely. But either way, these kids now, it's not just like you got to be a football jock. You got to be a hockey jock. And don't get me wrong, I think that stuff's important. I think all that stuff's important. That kids have sports and stuff like that's cool. And people who want to do those sports will do those sports. That's cool. You want to be a world class hockey player or world class soccer player? I am not going to stop you. I think that's a great ambition and that's a good goal in life. But what always grinded my fucking gears is that nobody took video games seriously. And these days, esports people make a fuck ton of money. You make a lot of money doing tournaments if you're a professional, if you're a professional gamer, essentially, a professional at whatever game you play, Fortnite, Hearthstone, it doesn't matter, But that stuff was never nurtured, and now I see it is being nurtured, and I think that's fucking cool. Because it gives people more options. Because I didn't want to do sports. Again, I think it's healthy. I think it's good to get exercise and good to keep your body in check and do all that stuff. But not everybody wants to be a soccer star. Not everybody wants to be a hockey player. And a lot of that stuff was kind of shoved down our throats that we had to do that. And I think it's neat that not only are they nurturing people's minds for hockey and the like, but they're also nurturing these kids if they want to be a gamer. If they want to, if they want to be the best player in the world at Fortnite, they can do that. And they can, they can have a team. And anybody who says that gaming doesn't like build teamwork skills and communication skills, that's so horseshit. And clearly you've never watched esports in your life. You ever watch a professional Overwatch league or like Fortnite even, Fortnite's a little bit different because it's Fortnite and you're usually a one-man army. But if you watch a team game, like any of those ones, like CSGO, Overwatch is huge, Rocket League, it's enthralling how good they are and how much they know. It's as skill-based as any fucking physical sport. It really is, and I would argue that to my grave. The coordination they gotta have, and it's like, oh, it's on a computer monitor. Yeah, but who cares? It's a mental and reflex stress rather than a mental reflex and strength test that sports are. Sports are a different kind of precision, Again, I'm not saying one's better than the other or either one is not good. I'm saying that I'm glad that these kids actually have a chance, if that's what they're into. And, and people will say, yeah, well, not every kid's going to devote to those You know, not every person's going to devote to those esports and then is going to become a star. You know, just because they do esports in school doesn't mean they're going to be, you know, the next whatever ninja or Face Clan or something like that. You know, but it's like, yeah, but not every hockey player is going to be a fucking star either. You know, not every hockey player that aspires to be in the NHL is going to be in the NHL. It just doesn't work that way. You know, I know lots of guys that I went to school with that loved hockey and that's what they want to do. And, you know, some of them went to like college or whatever level, but none of them that I know made it to the NHL. They wanted to, but they didn't make it. And, you know, it's the same with esports, the same with everything. Esports is just sports that you play on a computer. That's all. It's a different thing. But it's got the same, yeah, it's got the same pitfalls. Sometimes you don't make it. But, you know, if they do make it, you know, that's good on them. And the thing is, like, esports usually doesn't last that long. Much like sports, you don't really stay on top for long because it's always getting better. Like, you walk in any Call of Duty lobby right now, it's sweats. That's all it is. It's fucking sweats because everybody wants to be, you know, a professional. So it's all sweaty. So the competition's always getting crazy. So you're not in there long, but at the end of it, you could at least have a successful streaming career. You know, maybe you're not in the competitive esports side of it, but you're still a streamer. So I don't know. It could end up good. So bottom line is, all I want to say is that I'm glad that they're promoting this stuff in schools, and I'm sure. I mean, I just saw it in this school, so you know maybe it's going to go out to other schools. I'm sure. And this was technically not a very large place, you know. So I can only imagine how the big places are, how they're supporting it. So what I'm saying is, if your kid has a dream of wanting to do this stuff, don't crush their dreams because it is actually a viable thing these days. It's not like the old days where it was just kind of seen as a nerdy thing and you know that's it. Icky, because now it really is a viable career, and honestly, gamers make some of the most money on earth. You know, whether they're in esports or just streaming, it's cool. But yeah, that's all I really had for today. I just kind of wanted, I kind of did a whole roundabout there about my, I did what do you call that? A retrospective of my YouTube, and then I ended up talking about the esports thing. That was the main thing I want to talk about because, yeah, I saw this school and yeah, the fact that they're promoting kids, that's really cool. I love that. I love it so much because I wish it was as big of a thing when I was in school because I was pretty fucking good at Halo back in the day, guys. I'm not gonna lie. I mean, my fucking arthritis riddled hands now, you know, because I'm old. Can't quite do it the same, but that's all good. But yeah, sorry guys, short one this week. I got a bunch of shit to do. I gotta go and freeze my drain. Hopefully I can. You know, we'll see. We'll see. Maybe I can unfreeze it. I don't know. Justin seems to think that's filled with sperm, so you know, what gets sperm out of your drain? I might have to Google that. Who knows? But yeah, thank you guys for listening. Thank you for all the support. I've noticed a few new people around here, which is cool. I'm glad that everybody's enjoying the new gaming videos. And I promise to do a Twitch stream soon because there is an update for Boommen. So I do want to play Boommen, the new update. Apparently there is a new map. So I know Kyle's been itching to play it. And I might stream some of that last Epoch game. Uh, my buddy bought it for me. Shout out to Justin. Thanks for buying that for me. That's awesome. Uh, he told me it's a Diablo-like game, so I do want to try it. We're probably all gonna play it. Maybe we'll stream it together. And then there's the Diablo 4 beta, so I'm gonna have to play that, and I might do a video on that on my first reactions to the beta. So again, thank you guys for listening. Remember to follow the podcast on all social media. Links are in the description below, and I will see you next week. Bye, guys.